Alright guys, welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the bootleg Revoltech Tmnt figures I have there. I have Leonardo, I have Donatello. Unfortunately, I do not have Mikey and Raph, which has been a sore spot for me for the last few years. Um, the original Revoltechs came out in 2014, and these bootlegs showed up soon thereafter. Um, Back then, bootlegs were not so great. Always suffering from loose joints and bad sculpting work and stuff like that. Paint as well. But these back then were actually pretty decent, um, considering. And I think they stood up pretty well. They still look pretty good in my opinion. They do have quite a lot of flaws in terms of paint and stuff as well, but it's not too apparent. But we'll go into closer detail and we'll take a closer look at the figures themselves. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So in the package, you get Leonardo himself. You get a sort of diorama flight stand. You get two katanas and two sheaths. You get an alternate head sculpt, and you get a pizza. So for Donatello, you get the figure himself. You get a diorama flight stand. You get two different versions of his staff. One that has a blade, and you get an alternate head sculpt. Alright, so taking a closer look at Donnie, you can see the head sculpt looks really good. It's pretty accurate to the animation. Unfortunately, as you could probably see, they did put the incorrect color joints on the figure. Or maybe they couldn't get the right color. So they just kind of put on a lighter colored joint, which kind of, that kind of sucks. But it still looks pretty good. And you can see they put the wrong color Revoltech joint for the bandana as well. But the eyes are actually painted really good, as well as the teeth. You can see that signature gap. Now at the back of the head, as is on the original, there is a groove where you could slide the bandana across, but on Donnie, on mine, for some reason, it's very tight. So I tend to just pop the bandana off and use something like a tack or something to be able to move the eyes, just so I won't break that peg. But you can move them around. And if you actually went all the way to the right, if it's facing you, you could actually get that sort of whited out effect. So like when they're serious in the cartoon, they usually have that sort of whited out eyes effect, which looks really cool. The chest and stuff is painted, fairly decently. Some little sculpting's going on there. Around the edges of the waist there, I guess maybe how it's over the years, it's kind of scraped on that part there. As mentioned, the different colored joints on the arms kind of blows, but it is what it is. They did paint the inside there pretty nicely. And actually on these shells, I gave it a wash many years ago. So that's how it's so defined, but before it wasn't painted on the inside there. And you can see those two different holes. One is to actually place the bow staff, and one is to plug into the base flight stand. You will notice on Donnie, however, one of his fingers is missing. Lost it. So unfortunately, he's not completely perfect. And you can see on the legs, they did sculpt the wraps. They do have a kind of a weird design on their feet, but that is just due to the animation. But it does function pretty well in terms of articulation, which we'll go over just now. And yeah, the figure really does look pretty good. And although the joints are a bit of an eyesore, when you get them into a pose, it really looks good. Getting right into Leo as well. He also has the same gimmick with the bandana. You can see his eyes are painted pretty nicely. This one a little bit less so. But from with the naked eye, it does look pretty good. Now mine, I had this gimmick was sort of hard to maneuver, if at all. So I ended up sort of prizing the head apart and fixing that gimmick. So his actually moves quite a lot smoother than Donatello's. No fear of breaking any peg on him. But it did leave quite a bit of a seam line since I wasn't able to get it flush together as it was before. Leo's neck is a bit of an eyesore due to the double Revoltech joint that they used. I thought it would have been better if they did some kind of a floating cap or something just to block that. But you know, Revoltech doesn't really concern themselves too much with looks. But yeah, Leo is quite a lot better. My favorite turtle, of course. But he does have correctly matching joints, which is nice. As a matter of fact, if they used these colored joints on Donatello, it would have matched quite a lot better than what they did use, which is a very light color. He also had to give Leo a wash on his shell as well. You know, just to bring out the details a little more. And he also suffers the same issue where this sort of rubs on this, but it's not too bad. He did come with some additional paint defects on the edges here. Yeah, he certainly is pretty cool, and as mentioned, once you get them posed up, it's really, really impressive. You almost don't ever notice the Revoltech joints. And as you can see on his feet, the bandana, the wraps and stuff, done really good. A little bit of a defect there. There are these sort of splotches here. I don't know if this was intentional, but the animation, when you look at the animation, there are sort of like flecks and different colors going on them. So I don't know if that was an attempt to try to do that. I really don't have the original Revoltech to compare. I don't have 250 per turtle to spare. But yeah, really nice. Getting right into the articulation, I'm going to be using Leo since they're both very, very similar, except Leo's is a little bit different because of the double ball joint on his neck, double Revoltech joint, sorry. So let's just get this bandana out of the way. He can look all the way up, all the way down. His head does swivel side to side on this joint, as well as rotate. Like as mentioned, it is a bit of an eyesore, so once you get it in the position you need, you should probably just try to maneuver it in such a way that it doesn't look too bad. The Revoltech joints on the shoulder go literally all the way up, and all these joints are practically the same. You can actually unplug that from there and here, and they're all constructed like this, so you could pretty much split them all apart into tiny little bits if you wanted to. Oops. Let's get this in there. Well, this is a cool way to sort of circumvent the need to have to include a butterfly joint. It's just a little bit of an eyesore, as mentioned, because this can go all the way across the chest and pretty far back as well, hindered due to the shell there. The elbows, double jointed, or similar to double joints because it's just the one Revoltech joint there. The wrist also does the same, as well as you can rotate and get the vertical movement as well. Each of the fingers has their own Revoltech joint, so you can actually ball them up and make a fist, or have them open however you wish. Now, one thing I really enjoy about these turtles, as mentioned in my short, is the fact that they could actually crunch, which is something no other turtle I could think of could do. Maybe there are some, but certainly can't remember. And he could go forward quite far if you're willing to sacrifice the look of the back with the gap. So really, really interesting. And I kind of wish other makers or maybe even NECA, because they're supposed to be doing their own version of these. It would be nice to see them implement something like that as well. There are Revoltech joints at the tie as well. It kicks up about this far, hindered by the shell. The thigh does rotate at the top and at the bottom of the Revoltech joint. The knees full bend, can't go any further than this. And also as well does rotate on those joints as well. And the ankle goes forward about that far, back about this far. And there is a rocker, which is also another Revoltech joint inside there. So you can actually spin him to the side and get far more range if you choose to. Yeah. And pretty much the same articulation goes for Donnie, except for the fact that his neck is a single Revoltech joint. So you can look up all the way and down all the way, as well as tilt from side to side and rotate. And one last piece of articulation I forgot to mention was the bandana, because these can be rotated any which way. It's on a Revoltech joint, so it could be rotated up to the side, it could lay down. Yeah, pretty much do anything. Spin it to this side. So really cool. So for Leo's accessories, of course these don't come with any hands because their hands are articulated, but he does come with his two katanas, which are decently painted. I think a lot of these scratches are due to the age of these and the fact that I've had them so long. And they've survived at least 3 different moves, so it does look pretty decent. The handles are painted pretty well. And there you will notice there is a little peg on each of these. So once you're finished finagling, you could have him holding those swords, and it does look pretty cool. He does also come with a badly painted alternate head sculpt. I could fix this, but I just haven't bothered to over the years. So you could actually see the eyes aren't the greatest, and also the teeth, a little bit of red on there. You have to pull the bandana off of the other head and plug him into this one. I think I should widen this hole a little bit because this peg doesn't seem to want to go inside here. But I don't want to force it and break it. In addition to the katanas, he does come with 2 sheets. One is longer than the other, and those plug into his back. The shorter one goes on the leftmost peg, and the longer one goes on the other. As you can see, there's a particular pattern for each of these, so you should know which one plugs into where. And as you might expect, the katanas fit nicely into those sheets. Leo also comes with a pizza, and these are broken up into individual pieces, which can actually come off. I use this quite a lot in photography as well with other Turtles figures. But each of these slices has their own particular key, I guess you could say, or pegs. So they go in a particular way. So if I pull off this one, you can see this one is a big circle, a small circle, and they all fit a particular way on here. These are 2 small circles, and this is actually pretty decently painted. You can see all those pepperonis and stuff on there. So Leo does come with his flight stand, which is a little diorama piece, kind of cool. You have the New York sewer there, and a little piece of brick wall with a pipe, and at the top you have that Revoltech joint. There's also, you can pull it off of this spot and put it on this spot. You plug the Revoltech joint into the hole on the shell, and then you could have him doing a nice little jumping pose. Donnie does come with his bow staff, which is pretty decently sculpted. The animation in this show is kind of simplistic, even though it was a 3D animation. Unlike Leo, he does have this peg on the weapon, and this could be used to plug it into the back or plug it into the hole on his hand. In addition to the regular staff, he does come with this sort of Naginata type weapon, which is basically his staff, but it's a blade shoots out of the end. So it does have the ability to fold, but unfortunately it can't hide away completely. So I just leave it out like that. And this also functions the same because it has the same peg system there. Donnie also comes with an additional head sculpt, which is when he's drooling over April. And so you pull the bandana off and you plug him in here. And the head just plugs in like so. Much like Leo, he does come with his own diorama flight stand sort of thing. And if you're astute, you'll probably recognize this because this usually sits at the back of my display there, well, review area. And this just plugs into like that. And there's also a Revoltech joint that sits on the top. And much like Leo, you could plug him into the shell and have him doing some cool jumping poses. So for height, Leo stands about 4 3/4 inches tall, and Donatello stands about a little less than 5.5 inches tall. So him being the taller of the two is accurate to the show. Here's how they look next to a premium DNA Earthworm Jim. Here's how they look next to Jada Toys Mega Man. Here's how they look next to Samurai Animals Spring. Here's how they look next to Jada Toys Ken. Here's how they look next to NECA Mirage Donatello. And then here's how they look next to Marvel Legends Ant-Man. So in closing, having owned these for quite a long time, I think they're really great, especially for the time that they were made. Nowadays, we have quite a lot of high quality bootlegs, like from CT Toys and stuff. So it was my hope that with my short, I would have been able to generate some attention to these maybe. And hopefully one of these bootlegging companies starts trying to do these all over again, because I think there is quite a demand for these. And Revoltech doesn't seem to be interested in doing any reissues and stuff. So yeah, I would not mind if CT Toys or one of those good quality bootlegging companies tried to do their version of these. I think it would be really nice, and hopefully we see that someday. So I hope you all enjoyed the video. Unfortunately, I wish I could say you could go to AliExpress or you could go to eBay and get these, but it's just almost virtually impossible now to find these. If anybody has any info as to where you might be able to get these bootlegs, please share in the comments. I'm sure a lot of us would love to know as well. So until next time, guys, you all take care.